So
Right.
essentially for Quant was targeting the easier sections, easier questions to pick those low hanging fruits in the very first part of the section, and for LRDI to develop that discipline to move on to the next set and to scheme through the
And
number of sets and see which one are
yeah,
the
and
hardest and should be skipped. I also made sure that I am being well prepared about how to jot it down in terms of a story. For IIM Bangalore interview, there is a very crucial aspect called as SOP, statement of purpose. When the interview started, it's like actual day of interview on D-Day, the entire expectation just flipped around. It's like I was
okay.
expecting that.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Cracku interview series. Today we have with us Satish. He has converted IIM Bangalore. He is a working professional and he is currently working with ZS Associates. Coming to his education background, he has pursued B.Tech from the College of Engineering, Pune, and today he is with us to share his CAT preparation journey and how he cracked the IIM Bangalore interview. He is also going to give us many valuable insights about preparing for the interviews. Alright. Hello Satish, welcome, and first of all a big congratulations on converting IIM Bangalore.
Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Right. So, firstly, let's briefly discuss about your CAT preparation journey, and then we'll move on to your IIM Bangalore interview process and preparation. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, firstly, can you walk us through your CAT preparation journey? That is, when you started preparing for CAT, and how did the preparation go?
Sure. So my previous attempt, it's like in 2020, my CAT
Okay.
attempt didn't go very well. So at that time, I scored quite a low percentile. So I decided to take the CAT preparation quite seriously, and I decided to start it quite early. So I recall that I started my preparation for CAT 2021 in the month of March, and that's when I joined in Cracku as well. And during this period, means like for another month, means like through the month of March and like few first days of April, I tried targeting which are my weak spots. So essentially, I observed that my VARC was a quite strong section, and I was consistently getting better results in the RC section specifically. So, but in case of LRDI and Quant, I had few weak spots. Particularly Quant, it was necessary for me to select the topics which I can groom myself very well in, and then probably not miss a single question over it. In case of LRDI, strategizing for the sets, like which sets to attempt, how many questions in a given set to attempt, when to leave the set, those kind of strategic pointers were important for me. And since I had some basic experience of CAT 2020, I was aware what sort of pattern and what kind of questions we would be getting. So my plan was to strategize around my weak points and go ahead. So after that one and a half month, I started attempting questions and sets for Quant and LRDI. I put VARC slightly on a back seat because I saw that my results were well in them.
All right. So you said that Quant and LRDI are your two weak sections. So can you tell us how did you strategize your preparation around these sections? How did you improve, and finally, how did you come up with your strategy that you're going to implement in the exam?
Sure. So essentially, I started with Quant because I knew
Okay.
that for LRDI I would need elongated practice. So I started with Quant, and I specifically pointed out my weaker sections. So I observed that in case of permutation, combination, probability, then even some complex geometry, these are my weaker section. So these sections take time. Permutation combination is like, means like I was not even well versed at it. So I decided that I won't be focusing on these topics as much, and I will groom myself better on some other like time and speed, work related things, then logarithms, indices, geometry, the easier level geometry. So essentially, I made sure that I should be able to attempt at least 50% questions in the first go of the section. It's like the first go of the time slot, and maybe after that I can dig deeper into some complex questions. So this was my strategy. and I grew myself. I worked hard on those questions, and it worked out well during the exam as well. In case of LRDI, I have seen that we just cannot tell what kind of set would be coming in the exam. It's like
Yes, correct.
nowadays it's all LR plus DI mixed. It's like earlier in older CATs, there was completely
Right.
different
LR
sections.
and DI was separate. Right.
Yes. So
Yes, yes,
nowadays these are mixed, and we just
yes.
cannot tell what kind of set we would be getting. But we can be certain about one thing, that one of those sets will be easier and other set will be manageable. Another there will be one more manageable set, and maybe probably next two set or one set will be difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So I decided develop a system inside me that I could pick that one easy set. So I should be able to read the question well. I decided to judge, means like I worked around my comprehension better. It's like how to judge the question, whether it's easy or not, how should I read through the set. So for me, I don't know if it will work for everyone else, but for me, what I used to do is in first 5 minutes I do all the sets. I used to see the size of it, and I used to see the basic content of it. So generally with that you can grasp at least which set you had to skip 100%. It's like you had to
Right.
leave it for the last. And then after that I used to pick one of those set. I used to go for it. I used to spend some 5 minutes on it, and with that at least one or two questions should be able we should be able to crack. If that is happening, and if you are not able to crack the entire set, please move to the next one. So that way I developed that discipline that I should not be stuck on a set just with some ego state in my
Right,
mind
right,
that no,
right.
I should
Yeah.
be getting this answer correct. If I am getting even one question correct in that set and I am not able to decipher the rest of it, I should move forward. So that also actually worked very well, because in exam I was able to solve three sets, and out of the third set I was not able to solve one question. So I let it go,
Okay.
and that was the first set which I attempted. So I let it go. I said, no, I'm not going to attempt this one. I will move forward.
Right.
And fortunately, the next set was absolute walkthrough. It was an absolute cakewalk. So I was
Right.
able to solve that entire set in like 5 or 6 minutes. So that
Okay.
helped me a lot during exam. So
Right.
essentially for Quant was targeting the easier sections, easier questions, um, trying to pick those low hanging fruits in the very first part of the section was the key
Yes.
strategy.
Right.
And for LRDI to develop that discipline to move on to the next set and to scheme through the
And
number of sets and see which one
yeah,
are the
and
hardest and should be skipped.
yeah, and choosing the easy sets. Right. Okay.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Now let's discuss about the mocks. So, can you tell us how many mocks did you take for the CAT, and what was your mock analyzing strategy? How did you come up with your final strategy?
Yes. So I identified this quite early in the preparation, that attempting mock is the key towards getting a better score, because that is the real world experience, and that will give us a
Right.
better idea about how we should be strategizing all the three section back to back. So, and since these are like means like since you just cannot scheme through or switch between the sets, means like you have to attempt in that specific order. So it's quite essential that you give the mock and train your mind towards that sequence. So I decided to attempt mocks quite early in the season itself, and as soon as the mock started coming in, I started attempting those irrespective of my preparation. And that actually helped me, because in my first mock, first or second, I just don't recall, but
Okay, the dash
so
cat.
dash cat, sorry, yeah, first or second, I think it was one of the initial dash cat that I scored -1 in LRDI.
Oh,
So
okay.
basically I just was able to attempt one set, and even that I messed up completely. So this was a reality check for me that I am missing out on something. Either like I just kept that thing out of my mind, that whether the was difficult or these questions are not of the CAT level, everything was kept aside, and I just decided to think like what could have been done better. So when I went through the solutions which Aruti sir and Saili ma'am showed, it's like in the video solutions, I found those
Yes, yes,
questions to
yeah.
be quite easy to go through. I mean, like, those were not very complicated. It was just about finding that one simple trick for that entire
Clue.
set, and it would, like,
Right,
yes, and it would just unravel like a ball of thread. You just need to pick that end, correct end. So after that, I started working on my comprehension, like I said earlier, that how to understand the set and how to pick those questions which I can very easily attempt on. And I also saw that my quant speed was not very good, and I was spending way too much time even on the easier questions. So I started going through the Cracku quant lectures, and there were some
right.
very easy ideas and very easy tricks to go around some questions. So very specifically, I would like to say, in case of compound interest or time speed distance, some tricks, or there were
Yes,
some
yes, yes. Yeah.
ideas which could be very helpful. So that was the starting point for me, and I continued to take mock. And I recall that for Cracku, I have exhausted all the mocks, all the main mocks. Probably last two or three I might have missed, but apart from that, I have exhausted all the mocks. And I also used to give the
Okay.
sectional tests for LRDI and Quant. So I also recall that I attempted almost 7 or 8 out of 10 sectionals for Quant, and almost
Okay.
7 or 8 sectionals for LRDI as well. And since VARC was my strong piece, I used to focus on it only during the dash cats. So I
Right.
would say mocks is probably the most important aspect of my CAT preparation journey, and I ensured that I am analyzing it well and forming my strategy accordingly.
Okay, that's great. So now you gave CAT while you were working, right?
Yes.
So how did you manage both CAT preparation and work experience, CAT preparation and your job? How many hours per day were you able to allot for your CAT preparation?
Yeah. So it was important for me to develop a good schedule for CAT preparation, and for that I decided that I will focus my energy on weekends very well. And on the weekdays, I used to just scheme through the daily target exercises which Cracku used to release, and I would really say those were very helpful, because it was just that pinch of, means like, it was not too long. You just had to
Right.
solve one set for LRDI, a few questions for Quant, maybe a
1 hour.
passage for VRC. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it used to give me the boost that where I stand, and I, it's like, it was kind of a confidence booster and a motivation that on weekends, no, I need to focus much and I need to work around my weak points. So I used to just go through it. Probably sometimes I couldn't solve it or something, but I definitely used to go through it. And on weekends, I used to make sure that I am at least attempting one mock exam, and I used to analyze it on the Saturdays, and on Sundays I used to work on my weak points.
Weak areas. Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, so I essentially made it a point that my weekends are not wasted at all, and I also used to make a point that I'm not stretching myself too much on weekdays. Means like, my job is kind of quite demanding, so I had to
Okay.
engage with international clients, and their time zones generally don't match. So during the
Okay.
day, I had to work
Right.
on the internal works, and in the evening, I used to plan calls. So it was very difficult for me to juggle the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So how many hours per day you used to work, or till
yeah.
what time?
So I used to start my day from around 10:30 a.m. and sometimes it used to go means like, generally it used to go till 9 p.m. in the evening, and sometimes it could go up to
Oh.
12 a.m. So it was
Oh
quite
my God.
exhausting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So
It's
if at all I had to prepare on weekdays for CAT, I used to get that small period of 1 or 1.5 hour in morning between 8 and 9:30. So I used to go through the daily targets, or I used to solve few problems during that period. But I used to make sure that I'm not stressing myself out on weekdays, because I needed that energy on weekends to work.
right. On weekends. Right.
So
Correct.
yeah, so I used to keep my I used to only focus on my work on the weekends, weekdays, and weekends I used to prepare for CAT. and I think that strategy works. Means like if you have that kind of structure in your way of working, it definitely works. So
Correct.
yeah, and we do have some long means like, and since I started preparation quite early, like in March itself, so I had like almost 6 7 means like almost 7 or 8 months full fledged to work on my CAT preparation. So even if you are working on weekends and some, and it's not like that you have complete same kind of workload throughout the year. So when the
Right.
workload is
Yes.
less, I used to work on CAT,
More
but
on CAT, right?
weekends I used to make sure that they are not wasted at all.
Okay, so you made the maximum use of the weekends. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
now let's move on to your interview preparation for IIM Bangalore. So, can you tell us when you started preparing for the interviews and how did you prepare for each stage of the interview?
Yes, sure. So I think I received the IIM interview call somewhere around February first week.
Okay,
So I had almost a month, and my interview was around 14th of March. So I had almost a month to prepare for, but at the same time, there was a month earlier after the CAT result was declared. So
yes,
I had 2.5 months to prepare. I made sure that I'm not wasting that time because CAT result was declared. I was just in the mindset that irrespective of what calls I get, I will be preparing well and I would be attempting any interview that comes my way. So I
correct.
started
Okay,
preparing for January itself, and my basic focus areas were number one, my knowledge about my work ex. I went through in depth as possible. I got to know about my company's entire history, which sector they work in, how my sector is doing. Since ZS is quite prevalent in pharma sector,
right,
especially in oncology, how the oncology and pharma scenario looks in India, how does it look in
right,
United States where my clients are located. Um, at the same time, I also made sure that I am aware of every aspect of my work. Means like since I'm working in data analytics, kind of means like data analytics and data presentation.
okay,
I got to know what new technologies are there, what mathematical techniques they are using, like some basic regression analysis, etc., etc. Then there are
okay,
alternative hypotheses. Such kind of things are quite crucial, and
right,
I started preparing for it. The second aspect was my graduation knowledge. So I started brushing up my metallurgical engineering pieces, like everything that is learned from second year till fourth year. I started to note down which one are the most crucial ones. So like steel making, information about iron and its derivatives. Then what kind of other metals are there? What are their processing techniques, etc., etc. So this was a crucial part, and we need some time to like jot down what things are important.
right, right.
And I think that's
Yeah,
where starting early helps. So this was the second most important point, and third most important point was preparing myself about the current affairs. So in that, I started going through some relevant newspapers like the Hindu and the Indian Express. At the same time, I also started looking into my areas of interest. Like for example, during my graduation, I was the member of Team Baha, which was an automobile
okay,
club. So I
okay,
started looking into that. Means like I had been to US and participated in the competitions there. So I started looking into what specific questions can come around that as well. So,
right,
and after that, finally, I decided to brush up on my 11th and 12th standard basics, especially regarding
oh,
calculus and all, very crucial in
okay,
IIM Calcutta interview, because
okay,
there are at least three questions, 2 to 3 questions, which are around advanced mathematics, maybe somewhere around
okay,
permutation, combination, probability, or the calculus. And that has been experienced with every single person who I talk to about IIM Calcutta. So this was the basic fundamental process flow that I
right, right. The basic.
follow.
Okay,
So
this is how you
work
prepared.
yeah. So work
College,
ex,
graduate.
graduation knowledge, current
Yeah,
affairs, and finally the 11 12 basic maths.
Right.
So, and as I prepared along this path, I also made sure that I am being well prepared about how to jot it down in terms of a story. Because in IIM Bangalore, for IIM Bangalore interview, there is a very crucial aspect called as SOP, Statement of Purpose, where we have to submit a written SOP of why, about why you want to do an
Yeah.
MBA.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a crucial aspect because most of your interview is driven on that SOP.
SOP.
And
Okay.
while doing that, I made sure that the story of my life is like I actually an interesting thing for I am Bangalore SOP. I started with a picture. It's like
Okay.
generally it's like an essay, but I started with a picture that I clicked with
Okay.
my car in US after winning the
Okay.
competition.
So you can insert
And
pictures also in the SOP.
yeah,
Okay.
yes,
Right.
we can be
Okay.
as creative as possible with that document. It's just that we need to convey a story in a as effective manner as possible
Right.
about
Right.
why
Yes.
MBA is crucial to you and what additional value it will add to you. So I started with that picture. I mentioned that I have come from a background that was not very conducive initially, but my parents didn't give up, and that fighting spirit came into me. And I also started to make things better for me as I moved ahead. And that's how I started with my storyline. And
Okay.
it's very important that you are honest to yourself. Integrity is very crucial thing in the interview process. So be honest. And after that, since I was already preparing for my basics, the technical basics, I was very confident during the interview process. It's like when the interview was supposed to start, people generally feel nervous, but I was not that nervous at that time because the
Okay.
preparation was done.
Good. Okay.
But uh, as when the interview started, it's like actual day of interview on D-Day, the entire expectation just flipped around. It's like I was
Okay.
expecting that Bangalore interview is generally quite insightful. There is a lot of discussion around your work ethics and
Work
people just
right.
ask things and
Yeah.
there is proper, insightful, knowledgeable discussion. And I was expecting that. Turns out my entire interview was a grill fest. So
Oh,
they were
that's good.
throwing
Okay.
questions just to trap me right from the
Okay.
very first place. And their tone was absolutely condescending. It's like
Okay.
they were just trying to sabotage my confidence, and they were trying to see that we just want that one moment where this guy will slip.
Yes.
So my initial
More like
questions were
stress interview or something.
yes, an absolute stress interview, I would say.
Okay.
So there was a point where they asked me an ethical question where they gave
Okay.
me a choice that you are an R&D head and you are supposed to give out your budget, and you can give that entire budget to only one project. One of those project is a critical one, a rare disease one, and it will be saving people from an absolute ensured fatality, certain fatality.
Okay.
But those patients are quite less and they don't have the ability to pay. On the other hand, you have a second product which has a great mass appeal, and it is a kind of a cosmetic product, but there is a huge market and there is absolute large profit margin. Which product you will go for? So initially I
Okay.
said that I will go for the crucial one, and we will set our price point in such a way that we are breaking even with the in terms of revenue. But then they said that no, your patients don't have ability to pay. Then I said that for the time being, since I am restricted with my budget constraints, that I have one budget and I just need to allocate it to just a project, I will go for the other project which has a better revenue prospects. And
Bigger
from that,
market.
whatever, yeah, and from that, if we get the profit and if we generate certain sizable pool, we can again refocus on this project. So they immediately started attacking me. So you are going to let
Okay.
people die? So I
Yes.
said, I
Okay.
don't wish to do that, but I also had to think from a company's perspective that
Right.
generating a correct revenue, correct profit, then they won't be able to further invest into the R&D, because medication is not that you just created medicine and that's good. you have to continuously improve it. So they said, but are you letting those people die since you are investing in the product? I said that no, I will try to generate revenue from it. Probably then we will reinvest. But then again, this set in a trap. So till that point, whoever will die are going to be casualties. It's like those people will be shaheed in your terms. So they were throwing in this emotional context on me continuously. So I had to keep my calm there, and entire interview were similar questions. So they were just trying
Right.
to trap me in that guilt aspect or ethically non-consensual
Yeah,
aspect.
right. Yeah.
In such situation, it's just important to stay calm and not speak anything controversial and maintain a balance in your answers. So I think that balance and that ability to keep calm really worked for me in the interview, and the results are there.
Right, exactly. So what was your reaction when the results were announced? Like, when were they announced? I think just a few days back, right? The results were out,
Yeah.
and
So on Friday, actually, I was working, and I just came out of a meeting. It was quite a big meeting, so I was quite tired at that point.
so once the interview got over, like, how did you like? What was your
Oh,
feeling? You thought would you make it or would you not make it? And once the results came out and you saw that you made it, so how did you feel about it?
so when the interview was done, I was in an absolute state of ambiguity in mind. I mean, like I was not sure what is going to happen, because I was not
Okay.
expecting such kind of interview.
Right. Right.
I was expecting quite a insightful interview where I will be speaking about my work, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Nothing of that happened. So I was in this mind, in the state of ambiguity. But some of my seniors went through my transcript of interview, and they told me that it's fine as long as you have maintained that composure. It's fine, the stress interviews happen, and this is the part of the process. So if you
Right.
have maintained composure and answered accordingly, which seems like you have done in through your transcript, I think you should be fine. So that was kind of a ray of hope for me. So I never gave up my hope, but I was still in the state of ambiguity. And it was
Yeah.
then that, and there a huge span between that period of interview and the results. It's like almost a month.
Results.
So you are
Yeah.
constantly in that
Think about it.
state of
Yeah.
mind. Yeah. So eventually, on the previous week's Friday, I just came out of my meeting, and suddenly one of my friend told me that IIM Bangalore has released their call admits. So have you checked it? I said I haven't. So I sat down, I drank some water, and I went through their website, and I just saw that congratulation word, means the single word,
Yeah.
same,
Yeah. Congrats. Yes.
and it just threw me in on the seventh heaven. Means like it was an
Right.
absolute delight.
Right.
So I just calmed myself down after that. I called my
Yeah, I can
parents.
understand. Yeah.
So
Right.
it was a great experience. It's like finally
Right.
I became assured that it's very
Yeah.
essential to follow the process and not think about how particular aspect of it went. If you are following it in
Right.
your method, it will definitely work out.
Right. Brilliant. That's amazing. Like, so now, I think there's no VAT. There's just personal interview, right?
There was a VAT, and
Okay.
that was conducted quite earlier. It's like maybe 1 or 2 weeks earlier than the interview. So in
Okay.
the VAT, I think I had a topic around how COVID pandemic has impacted the world, and are we ready for next pandemic? Are we ready to deal with the next pandemic? So
Okay.
the process is quite smooth. It's like they have their entire interface, the IIM Bangalore, and we just need to go in there and type our essay. So it was like a 250 word limit. It's a hard limit. We cannot exceed that
Okay.
because it is restricted by the software. So I had those points ready in my mind, because this is like a very generic topic, and generally the topics are quite generic. So it does not take a long while to jot down the points,
Right.
but it's necessary that you are jotting it down in a proper sequence. It's like you just cannot haphazardly throw in the pointers and just cook something up. So I just created few points, I highlighted those points, and I just means like I mentioned it actually in a point-wise method only. Means like I haven't created paragraphs, but I actually created bullet points while typing, and they have that provision to create the same, just like the Word document. So that was quite helpful, I guess, because I was quite sure that my points are well written there. And I think it won't take more than 2 or 3 minutes, but they have a hard limit of 15 minutes. So it's very necessary that you are starting right away. Maybe give 2 or 3 minutes to compile your ideas. You should start right away, otherwise the time might fall short.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, now finally, can you tell us like what other calls did you receive, and why would you choose IIM Bangalore particularly?
So with IIM Bangalore, I think it suits well to my work experience. That's the most
Okay.
important piece. Second thing is that IIM Bangalore has a great location. It's like it is the crucible of startup industry now in India.
Right.
So it will be I'm not yet well versed with the logistics of it, but I think it will be a good networking place for me as a aspiring business administration student. And the third thing is that it also has a similar pedagogy as the older IIMs like Ahmedabad and Calcutta. So I think
Right.
it's more about what choice suits me. And for the time being,
Right.
looking at the batch profile, I think IIM Bangalore suits
Right.
best
Yeah.
to me.
Your profile more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have right now I am Ahmedabad, I am Calcutta, I am Lucknow, Indore, Kozhikode call incoming. I also had a FMS call, and I converted it, though I was in the deep waitlist. But I think that waitlist will be covered. So I think
Okay. Yeah.
overall that thing
Great.
means like FMS interview also went well. So these were like the major calls I focused upon. I didn't apply for the SPGen for
Okay.
some particular reasons, but
Okay.
these
Okay.
were some major calls, and yeah, I'm looking forward to their results as well.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Now, finally, what is some advice that you would like to give the future CAT aspirants and also the MBA aspirants in general?
Yes. So my first advice will be to not get demotivated. Because it often happens that while preparation you will find that you're doing well, or something is happening that is not in line with what you were expecting. Maybe it's on personal front or work front, and you might feel demotivated. What I used to do to
Yes.
feel motivated is that I used to go through my LinkedIn profile, and I used to see my connections who are there in IIMs and in top institutes. And when I used to see their profile, I used to feel so motivated that no, I also want to be there in the same place as they are. So keep yourself motivated and make sure that the performance that you are having in mocks is not the representation of what you will have in the CAT.
Yeah. The
During the
final score.
exam, during such fight or die situation, you are always more attentive, more sharp. Your mindset is completely focused. So it's an altogether different experience than mock. But if you are consistently giving the mock, it will help you build the confidence. That's the most important part of mocks. So I would say that one should not take their preparation lightly, no matter how good they are at maybe Quant or LRDI or VARC. I mean, like I see that most engineers are really good at the Quant and LRDI sections. So they tend to take it lightly and maybe focus only on VARC and
Yes.
solving the
Okay.
sections around. But that should not be the case. One should at least stay in touch and continuously see where they can improve. So taking preparation lightly is definitely not an option. Second, not to get demotivated by. Third thing is basically not to get demotivated by your cat mock score, dash cat mock scores, because those are absolutely different conditions, and the intent of mocks is to analyze how well you are doing and how well you are improving. So if you are not able to score something somewhere, that means that space is area of improvement for you. You improve on it and you move ahead. So those are the three important aspects with the preparation. And the fourth one will be to set a disciplined schedule. If you want to study on weekdays, do study on weekdays. If you want to study on
Yes.
weekends, do study on weekends, but make sure that you are not deviating from it, or you are not fluctuating. Means like some days I will just focus on weekends, then others I will work 2 hours, 3 hours on weekdays, and I will do nothing on weekends.
Okay.
That is not a good strategy, because it will impact your discipline and your.
Yeah. Right.
So these are four things about CAT preparation. And about interview preparation, again the same thing, that you just cannot take your preparation lightly. No matter how generic questions you are expecting interview, you need to be prepared about your technicalities, about your profile, about how things have been in your past, everything related to it. Because if you miss out on any of those, your confidence level will drop suddenly if some question come your way. I recall
Right.
that in IIM Calcutta interview, they suddenly asked me to do to solve an integration problem, and it was closed integration between minus pi by 2 to pi by 2 x square sine x dx. So I started doing it by parts. I showed them the intermediate step, and they suddenly stopped me that no, you don't have to do it by this method. Apply any other method. At that point, I was not even aware that there could be a alternative. I think they were
Yeah.
expecting me to use a binomial theorem or the Taylor series to expand the entire function and then break it down and solve it. So I was
Okay.
not aware of that. So my confidence would have been absolute low if I was not prepared for my other questions, because then
Right.
we start fumbling. So I suddenly
Right.
I
Right.
straight up told them that I am not able to solve this problem. We can move to the next one. So they
Okay.
moved on to the next one, and those questions went well. So it's
Right.
very
Okay.
important to be prepared, because that enhances your confidence. And even if in case you don't know something, you are quite certain that next question will not I will not fail. So that's the
Right.
part of preparation. And another thing is to stay calm. I mean, like, there is a possibility that sometimes you are not articulate. Means like you keep on speaking. But at that time, you should remind yourself during the interview that no, here I had to wait. So if that works, you are doing well. So these are the two things about interview prep.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Satish. You gave some very valuable insights. You gave deep insights about how to prepare for CAT and the MBA interviews as well. I'm sure it helps a lot of aspirants who are trying to crack the CAT and also trying to prepare for the interviews.
Yes.
So thank you so much, and also all the best for your journey at MBA.
Thanks a lot, and it really means a lot to me, because Cracku has been a instrumental thing in my entire CAT preparation, and I am forever thankful to you guys. So, and
Thank
I
you.
wish all the future CAT aspirants and all the best.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.